Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Mayte Carracedo. I'm here today hosting this webinar about the collaboration among digital innovation hubs and startups. I'm working at FundingBox. FundingBox is a digital platform that is supporting early adopters of technology with access to funding and to tech communities. And this webinar is part of a European project that is called DIHNET. I would like to summarize the agenda for today. So we have a very full agenda until 11:30, where in this first part, we will go through the concept of digital innovation hubs, the type of services they provide, and the role that startups can play there. For this, we count with the participation of speakers representing DIHs and representatives from the European Commission. You will be able to make questions to them at the end of their presentations. Then we will run into the second part of this webinar that I will be moderating, and we will have representatives of digital innovation hubs, but also representatives of startups that have been working with DIHs in the last months, and they will talk about their experiences, the business opportunities they have found, but also the challenges in working together. With this, we will go through the final part, where we would like to invite you to also maybe share some good experience in this area, and also to raise your questions with regards to the participation of the panelists. I will be moderating this webinar together with my colleague, Lucy Milcent, who will take care of the presentations and also of the questions that you can raise during the whole webinar. And with that, I would like to pass the floor to Lucy for her also to do her introduction. Please, Lucy, go ahead.
Yes, hi everyone, I'm Lucy. So I work with Mayte on the initiative in which FundingBox is a partner. The aim of the initiative is to create connections between existing initiatives and networks related to DIH, and to support European DIH in networking and cooperating together. So I will be in charge of the logistics of the webinar. So there will be 2 times for questions. The first time will be after the first 3 speakers, and we will have 5 minutes, and then we will have a more complete question and answer session at the end of the webinar, after the panel session, after the panel discussion. So to ask questions, you can use the question tool that you must have on your panel control on the GoToWebinar tool. They will arrive to me and my colleague Maria, and we will assign them to the different panelists. So please, before you take your question, please write the name of the person you would like to ask it to, so it facilitates the work for us to assign it to the right person. And I will now introduce our first 3 speakers. So we will have first Maurits. He's a senior scientist at TNO. He's also the coordinator of the DIHNET project. He will talk about what's a DIH concept and definition from a startup perspective. Then we have Thorsten Hülsmann from Germany. He's the director of the Digital Hub Logistics in Dortmund, and they're also the winner of the Champion Challenge, the DIHNET initiative organized last year in 2019. And he will talk about the services that DIH offer to SMEs, and more specifically, the services that they offer in DIH. And then we will have Bogdan, who is a policy officer in the Digital Innovation Unit of the European Commission, who will talk about the role of startups in cooperating with DIH for the digitalization of SMEs. So Maurits, you can start now.
So hello everyone. I'm honored to give this presentation to you, because I think the startups are very important for a digital innovation hub. My job is to give you some ideas, some glimpse of what a digital innovation hub is, especially from the perspective of a startup. So I can give a presentation about what a digital innovation hub is for about an hour, but I'll just have two elements that I think are important for this webinar to show you in order to make the link between the Digital Innovation Hub and startup. Yes, Lucy? You can click. So this slide is telling you giving you two elements, two dimensions of what a Digital Innovation Hub is. On the left side, you see, I'm sure you all recognize it. It's the symbol of a Digital Innovation Hub that is presented by the European Commission, and it goes into the activities and the functions, the role that the Digital Innovation Hub has in the community. It provides skills and training. It offers environments to test before you invest. It supports the access to finance, to find investments, and it also broadens the ecosystem. So it connects all the different players within an innovation ecosystem together. So those are the activities that are very important for a Digital Innovation Hub. On the right side, you see the more organizational elements of a Digital Innovation Hub. So at the core, there's orchestrators that are linking the ecosystem partners to each other. And all the red dots are either in the Digital Innovation Hub or very much connected there. So universities, educational institutes, industry is there, but also there are accelerators, incubators there. And that's the connection already with the startup community. At the core, there is a competence center that allows access to the test before you invest kind of technological infrastructure. So that's also a very important part. So if you can click again, Lucy. And just going a little bit more in depth to the 4 elements from the Commission. There you can see the skills and training, investment, test before invest, and ecosystem. And I've included some more detailed services there. So the ecosystem network is about community building, strategy development, etc., etc. Where the test before invest, it's very much technology oriented, and it offers you a technological support to scale up and testing, validation, and even research, development, and innovation activity. Defined investments is about incubator accelerator, highly very important for startup community, but also the Digital Innovation Hub support the development of projects and housing. And the skills are, of course, the icing on the cake, or a very important element to really deploy the digital services. So that's also a part. And if you click then again, Lucy, this is a little bit more detailed in what those services are. So for example, strategic research, development, and innovation, it's about joint pre-competitive RDI, research and development, and it can be secondment for companies. And incubator accelerator is about market assessment, business development, IPR, legal issues, and sales strategies that you can offer as a Digital Innovation Hub. And if you click, the training, the skills and training, that's about not only the technological training. So in the field of robotics, what's a robot, how you can incorporate artificial intelligence in in business, etc., etc. But it's also training about business development, how you can pitch to investors. That's also part of that activity that the Digital Innovation Hub can provide. And if you then click again, I think, but this is my opinion, I think from all those activities, these are the ones that are highly important for a startup. So it's the strategic RDI and a contract research. Usually that's a little bit too much for a startup a startup organization, but technological support for scale-up, testing and validation, and just provision of technological infrastructures that they can use, that's important. And from the business side, it's of course the incubator accelerator and the access to finance, which is important. So if you click, and so Digital Innovation Hub is part of a broader community. I think it's important to say that, where the Digital Innovation Hubs and the competence centers that are offering the tech infrastructure, those are going towards the industry, so providing the services to the industry. We are within the full community part of a European landscape, and we are connecting the different dots, and the DIHNET is, for example, on the European level. They're connecting innovation actions and CSAs. I'm sure you don't know what that is, but those are the European networks, and we try to bring them to the regional level where the digital innovation hubs and competence centers are providing their services to the industry, to companies, and also to startups. So then my last slide, it's about some observations I've had during the large amount of visits I gave to to digital innovation hubs, and I can share this with you. I think the core activities of a digital innovation hubs towards the startups are about providing housing, access to infrastructure, and the business development, and especially the access to finance. Those are the core activities that you can offer towards startups. But it's also about bringing, getting the contacts between the startups to the broader European markets. That's also important part of what the Digital Innovation Hub can offer. And large companies are very interested also there to be part of it, because the startups are inspiring the larger companies. So you need to organize events, and digital innovation hubs can create the corridors. One sentence about a venture capitalist. What I see is they're reluctant to pay to be part of a digital innovation hub, but they can offer also 1 day a week a kind of a free service. They're interested to talk with those startups. On the other hand, there's the startups themselves. They can help connect to markets. You can help to connect to markets, get connected to finance, help with your scale-up activities, and also some legal advice, some other advice you can get. And it's about a working space, having a working space. So, and that working space is perhaps one of the most important things here. Offering a free working space or a little bit payment for the working space, that's the core element that can bring together. And then click, Lucy. That will offer the access to infrastructure, expertise, finance, and network for the startups. And if you click again, and that allows the digital innovation hubs to connect to large companies, because they're interested to talk with startup companies, with venture capital, with public co-funding, and also those startups will give you a lot of inspiration for your own business. So that's more or less the introductory presentation I can give to you.
Thank you very much, Maurits. We'll now call Thorsten for his presentation.
Yes, hello. My name is Thorsten Hülsmann. I'm the CEO of Effizienz Cluster Management GmbH in Germany, Dortmund. And we are facilitating digital hub logistics in Dortmund since the end of 2017. So the digital hub logistics in Dortmund is facilitated or consisting of 3 competence centers. Please click to the next slide. And is belonging to the digital ecosystems DIHBU, which is facilitated by the German government. Next slide, please. And you can see here the two Fraunhofer institutes, the one for material flow and logistics in Dortmund, and the other one, Fraunhofer ISST, for software and systems technology, the two RTOs as competence centers in our hub, and the Technical University of Dortmund is the third one. The whole topic is orchestrated by my company, Effizienz Cluster Management GmbH. It's a non-for-profit innovation agency. Next, please. Then we have here the whole portfolio of our DIH ecosystem. Well, we are focusing on everything Maurits just explained, and I will focus on the pink part on the right-hand side. What are we doing to enable SMEs? So there are basically two formats. One is the so-called SME Enabling Center, digital in NRW, and the second one is our Start-in Factory, which is a process. So I will go in detail right now. Next, please. And as you can see here, we have cooperation formats, the ones Maurits explained, and we have in this graph view, well, figured out a little bit regarding the intensity of cooperation, for instance, between RTOs and SMEs, and the market entry. And you see here that usually the formats like our Graduate School of Logistics are focusing on basic research. The Fraunhofer formats like the Enterprise Lab or Contract Research are more focusing on applied research or prototyping. And the SME formats we started end of 2017 are more focusing on the market entry part. And I will explain this. Next, please. The first one, our SME Enabling Center, Digital in NRW, is basically working on digital transformation with a low level entry barrier. And we have well established since 5 years, 5 basic pillars. We give a lot of information about digital transformation. We demonstrate how digitization works. We are qualifying personal people from the SMEs. We are developing with the companies concepts for digital transformation activities, and we are also well facilitating transfer projects where digital products, for instance, are co-developed. This is mainly the digital in NRW part. It is co-financed by the German government, as I said, since 5 years, and it is one very big project which delivers services for SMEs completely for free. The second example I want to describe is not for free. Please, next slide. And it is called our Start-in Factory. And what are we doing? We are delivering infrastructure, we are delivering co-working space, we are delivering a community, a network of experts, and a certain process. What does an SME have in place? Usually they come up with a digital team, at least 2 people working exclusively on digital transformation activities, and they might have a first idea or a budget. Both is good, and at the end we are trying to develop either a viable product and innovative process design or business models for certain digital innovation. Next slide, please. And this is then, well, the process, which is on the right side. So there are several building blocks which are delivered by the Digital Hub Competence Center, starting on the left-hand side in the orange side with ideation building blocks. Then we have these conceptualization and developing phase in the middle, and then the yellow one, more the market entry business modeling part. So each of these building blocks is either a workshop, is a small project, or is just an event where SMEs can participate. And then the basic part, communication and culture, is also important because it's more focusing on methodological topics. Next slide, please. And ideally, then an SME can decide whether to stay with us 6 months or 12 months. The SME pays for our services, starting from 25,000 euro up to 300,000 euro for a whole year. And then we go in detailed well, workshops to develop a certain red line throughout these 6 months or 12 months. And then you have this innovation funnel, this innovation red line, where an SME closely cooperates with the DIH competence centers. And in some of these parts, also the matching, the structured matching between startups and SME is central. And I want to add to the topics Maurits just explained one last thing. It is customer, access to the customer, because when two topics are important for startups, it is money, investment, and clients, customers. And this is what we try to bring together also within this building blocks of our starting factory. So that should do for the time being. Please click 2 times for the last slide, and then I'm also ready. Oh yes, I wanted to mention that you can find here some brochures on our digital hub logistics. And also, please, for those of you who are on a startup company, we are facilitating the so-called Digital Logistics Award, the 4th time this year. So if you are a startup from ICT or from anything else which is important in logistics and transport, please have a look and apply in September. This award will be facilitated. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thorsten. We now welcome Bogdan Ceobanu from the European Commission.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Mayte, for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to speak today about, what the European Commission is doing in relation to startups and how the startups relate to the digital innovation hubs. We were working on the Startup Europe initiative for quite a long number of years now. We started much earlier than the digital innovation hubs. We have like a history of more than 9 years, and practically Startup Europe, it's created to launch and build and support the creation of digital leaders in the European landscape. And we do this through a set of activities, more specifically 5 of them. I will speak only about 3 today, and I'm sure like you will have a sense about how this relates to you and how you can practically benefit of them. So the 5 topics in which Startup Europe is working are European policies, European projects for startups and scale-ups, European events, research and analytics regarding startup innovation and startup trends. And recently, we started the access to finance batch, and in relation to that, we have 2 new funds. In this slide, you see that we have practically 6 new projects. These 6 new projects are practically intermediaries to helping, as Maurits and Thorsten said, projects to succeed and projects to find new customers, to find new investments, to collaborate better with large companies or small companies or find talent. And these projects are practically in very innovative fields. However, they are in all industries. I see that we are more than 100 now. I believe many of you are entrepreneurs. Many of you would like to know how to work together with us or how to benefit of such opportunities, because this project indirectly will work with more than 600 startups, and practically they are the facilitator between the startups, the scale-ups, and the large companies, and they are creating this kind of links to support on one side the market entry to new opportunities and to untapped locations which they have probably not considered, and on the other side the new customers, because these companies practically need new ways of doing things, new ways of producing faster, better, using better data, and using novel technologies such as AI and blockchain. You can find these 6 projects, but also others on our website, startupeuropeclub.eu. And if you go to the next slide, yes, you will see that on the first page, we have practically a section with open calls. Right now, there are more than 25 of them. They're going from, you know, calls for organizations dealing with COVID, calls for organizations which want to, you know, sell into the international markets such as United States. There are calls for organizations which want to digitize themselves, or organizations which are having, you know, a focus towards healthcare or education or GovTech. And this is very interesting. When I was an entrepreneur, like in 2006, such opportunities did not exist. However, you have them here on the Startup Europe Club, aggregated every week. New calls are being put there, and it's much easier to apply to them compared to applying to Horizon 2020, you know, official projects. Practically, the EU-funded project have cascade grants, and you just have to fill something like 3-4 pages regarding your business model, your perspectives, your strategy. And if you fit well into the eligibility criteria, you have much more chances to get in and get a boost in your sales, in your expansion, access to talent, and improving your product. And like the very last thing which I wanted to say around this calls, it's in relation to the Digital Innovation Hub. So if the startups are able to collaborate better with companies, the ecosystem, the hub will definitely succeed as well, because of the facilitation created, because of the fact that the large organizations will be better prepared for the digital transformation era, for the big data era, and for planning to use novel technologies such as machine learning or you know, blockchain. And if we go to the last slide, you will see that we have a new big thing coming up. So practically at Slush last year, we together with the European Investment Fund, we said we need to do something in order to you know, position better Europe at the international level when it comes to novel technologies. And artificial intelligence and blockchain are practically 2 of the most in trend, most important, most valuable technologies of this world, which will define for sure the next decade. And we have seen in our analysis that, okay, Europe is doing good. However, there is a need for more support, including public funding. And here we have seen that funding has been mainly concentrated around the large Western hubs, and we wanted to, you know, make sure that there is funding available for this kind of novel, you know, technologies for startups and scale-ups into these fields, also in the Western Europe, also in the Eastern Europe, also into the Southern Europe, into the hubs where, you know, the funding per capita is not as high as, let's say, a top hub in Europe, but talent there is still there, and there are still huge opportunities for creating the next Skype or the next Spotify. And this fund will be operational starting this summer, and there will be practically a leverage effect. So the European Commission, together with the European Investment Fund, will give this money to 4 or 5 European funds from different hubs. And then there will be this leverage effect. The funds will have to come with the 1/4 of their capital to invest into companies. And the other very interesting thing for digital innovation hubs is that we are doing also a procurement to support the pipeline for this AI and blockchain fund. So if there are the digital innovation hubs managers in this call, please do create in your region, in your ecosystem, some kind of analysis. Which are the companies which require early stage funding, which are using artificial intelligence and blockchain technologies, and would require investments either this year or either next year. And once we have this procurement up and going, for sure we would like to know your lists, and we will want to put them into the deal flow machinery, and we will like to facilitate direct access between the VCs and the startups which are looking for funding, as I said, not necessarily from the big hubs, but also from the ones which are emerging. And with this, I would like to thank you very much. You can find us at Startup Europe Club and Startup.EU, and for sure, Europe will have a better prosperity and a better growth in terms of innovation and startups in the years to come because of this kind of initiatives and because of your support and hard work. Take care.
Thank you very much, Bogdan. We have time for one question which we have received for Thorsten. One person is asking, are there any cooperation partners outside of Europe, particularly Greater China? And this question is coming from Johannes Roth.
Yes, I already answered by text, but yes, we have on data sovereignty topics. We are collaborating with RTOs in Tongji at Tongji University and in the south of China. I have to have a look which university this is. And then on the logistics topics as well. So if you are interested, please send me an email. Then I will send you the list of maybe 10 cooperation partners in China.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now move to the second part of the webinar, which is the panel discussion. If you have any more questions on this first part, the questions tool is still open, so we can go through it at the very end. So I will give the floor to Mayte now to introduce the panel.
Thank you, Lucy. Okay, hello again. With this panel, we wanted to know more about the experiences of representatives from both parts, from DIHs and the startups. How is the experience from them working together, and which were the main challenges? For that, we come today on the participation of 4 speakers. We are welcome here Alicia Gómez, Project Manager at Digital Innovation Hub Industry 4.0 from Burgos in Spain. We also count on the participation of Claudio Rubio, Business Development Manager at the startup Tacticatic from Spain also. We also will have the participation of Anita Lieverding, Manager at Tech Delta and Coordinator of the Working Group Startups and Scale-Ups of the Dutch AI Coalition. And finally, we will count on the participation of Camille Bershore, CEO at Burst.ai. I would like to invite each one of them to do their introduction about themselves and their companies. Okay, so please, Alicia, can you start introducing yourself?
Okay, hello everyone. Okay, so my name is Alicia and I'm Project Manager at Digital Innovation Hub Industry 4.0, which is a hub located in Burgos, Spain, under the form of a non-profit association. We are mainly focused on Industry 4.0 technologies, and our ecosystem is mainly formed of 4 pillars. One of them is our members, which are on one side industrial members and on the other technological ones. Then we also have a wide variety of stakeholders, which can be sponsors, other clusters or public entities. And finally, we recently added one more pillar, it's our startups. Our startups come into role into our hub in the way of a support program that is free of charge for them. And to go into it, they must comply some selection criteria. The gate stage that is not as members, because our members, for example, they pay a fee around the year, but they will get most of the benefits. Lucy, you can move to the next slide, please. But well, what do we have to offer to startups? So first of all, we are an innovation ecosystem. That means we are a networking space where we are going to give them visibility. We offer them different opportunities, challenges, and we ask them if they want to take a role on them. Second is the generation of projects. Under a general scheme based on the diagnosis of the problem, we work with the different agents in play to try to discover the problem and the different solutions. And if we detect that some of our startups can offer a solution or a product there, we ask them to participate. And finally, we have some other tools that they can access to it, like technological training. Then we can support them also in the elaboration of calls or to find some financial support. And also we coordinate that kind of projects that arise from our network. And well, I think that's mainly a little bit a sum up of what we do. So you have questions, you can ask me at the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alicia. Now we have also Claudio, which is representing a startup that was working with the Digital Innovation Hub in Burgos. Claudio, can you tell us some words about your company and yourself?
Sure, Mayte. Good morning, everyone. I'm Claudio Rubio. I'm the Business Development Manager in Tactica TIC, which is a digital enabler based in Asturias, an industrial region in the north of Spain. We started collaborating with Digital Innovation Hub in Burgos a few months ago, by the beginning of this year, okay? And we started our activities as a company by the beginning of 2017. Okay, we are nine people now. We hope to be at least 15 by the end of this year, hopefully. Okay, what we do, we help companies to tackle their digitization processes. Okay, by the development of tailored digital tools, starting from the combination of web development and sensors and computer vision. We got last year our first European project, joining a technological center here in Asturias and another technological center in Romania. Okay, and we always say that we develop digital transformation processes or projects. Sorry, keeping a balance between innovation and adaptability. This is our main point. Okay, Lucy, please, can you change the slide? We are working in three fields of knowledge, I would say. We are working on artificial vision, we are working on IoT communications and IoT devices, okay? And we are working in a huge box that we call digitization, okay? The integration of these three technologies, I would say, allow us to offer tailored solutions with the aim to improve business processes in which, starting from data collection, that's why we use artificial vision and IoT, then data analytics and data exploitation, we launch processes to control applications, quality, traceability issues, and many kind of applications. Being able to develop expert systems based in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Claudio. Now we have Anita from Tech Delta. Can you please introduce yourself and your company or the DIHs?
Of course. Thank you, Mayte. Hi, everyone. My name is Anita Lieverdink. I work as a senior orchestrator of innovation at TNO. the Dutch Organization of Applied Research. And in my role as orchestrator, I set up and manage public-private ecosystems for innovation to achieve an impact that none of these organizations could have achieved individually. And one of the ecosystems I've set up a few years ago already is Tech Delta. That is a network to stimulate and speed up innovation between large companies and startups. So it's focused on curated matchmaking. We found a model where the matchmaking services of Tech Delta are profitable for all involved stakeholders. So first of all, for startups, they get free access to a world of corporates, and those corporates are all committed to innovate with startups. Second, as Tech Delta partners, large organizations get access to relevant startups and, of course, also a valuable network of peer innovation managers. And thirdly, via our hub partners, that is the startup community in the Netherlands, the accelerators and incubators, they get an extra neutral channel for their best startups to link to potential business partners. So that's for Tech Delta. If you go to the next slide, Lucy. The other innovation ecosystem I've helped setting up last year is the Dutch AI Coalition. The goal, so artificial intelligence, the goal of this public-private partnership with already over 300 partners now is to stimulate, support, and orchestrate where required the Dutch AI activities. And we are organized in a matrix. I hope you can see that slide. I see still the other one, where I'm the coordinator of the working group Startups and Scale-Ups. And we focus on improving access for startups, for Dutch AI startups, on data, risk capital, and also ecosystems. That's it.
Thank you, Anita. We also wanted to have a company, a startup working with these DIHs, and for that we have invited Camille from birds.ai. Can you introduce yourself and your company, Camille?
Yes, yeah, cool, it's working. So my name is Camille Verschoor. I am CEO at Birdseye. Last year I went to this solar plant in the Netherlands, and in my mind I was thinking on like just a normal solar plant, but in reality it looks like this. Over 20,000 panels this field has. And the owner has to make sure all the panels are all functioning to optimize the energy output. To do that, he has to find the panels that are broken, and inspecting all these panels on foods can take multiple days, up to a week. So he requests our help to solve this problem. What we did is we asked drone operators to collect visual and thermal images. These images were fed into an AI engine that we tuned to find the position of the broken solar panels. Finally, we provided an overview of the broken solar panels, and now the owner has a direct shortcut to the broken panels. So my name is Camille Verschoor, and I'm the CEO at Birdseye. Could you do next slide? And at Birdseye, what we do is we convert images into meaningful figures and numbers. As you can see, we do this in 3 simple steps. We collect the inputs, images or videos. We tune a suitable AI engine. And finally, we visualize the output in a meaningful overview. Next slide, please. The beauty of our technology is that it can be applied on many different problems. Our team has worked with some of the biggest customers in the market. For example, Aperam to prevent downtime in production lines, with Deloitte to track hockey players for better tactics, and lastly, EDF to proactively maintain power lines. For these customers, our technology creates a data-driven workflow for cost savings and improved safety. So we have worked with digital innovation hubs to start these collaborations, and we have a lot of experience setting up these collaborations. So looking forward to the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Camille. I would like now to start the discussion and invite all our panelists to put their cameras on, so including me. Okay, so my first questions will go to the DIHs, Alicia and then Anita. How did the cooperation with the startups that are here today start? How they get in contact with you? Can you please elaborate on that?
Okay, yeah. So from our side, for example, we were going to attend a B2B event, Street Food in Asturias, where Tactica Tick is coming from. and we were going to have a meeting with them in that event. In the end, we couldn't attend, but we continue our contact by email. So in most of cases, this is how we proceed. Like we try to be up to date into these B2B events, try to be up to date with the news and everything. And when we see there's a startup that might be useful for the ecosystem or has an interesting project, service, product, we try to get in contact with them, and we offer not really our services, but to go into our ecosystem. So that would be more or less the sum up.
Anita?
Yes, for TechDelta, the startups apply themselves for matchmaking on our website. We have a platform for that. We have now about 200. And I think that is mainly because we have a large, we actually have put an umbrella over all the accelerators and incubators in the Netherlands, and we cooperate with them. So we organize our matchmaking events on their locations. We come to the community ourselves. They are happy to promote TechDelta because, well, we offer free service for their startups, so they get better connected to the market. So actually, we don't need to really actively go search for good startups ourselves. It's a lot of word of mouth. And for the Dutch AI Coalition as well, they need to subscribe as a partner. And I think because that is such a large well, coalition with high ambitions, that also attracted a lot of media attention. That is why the startups themselves found us. As I said, we have 300 partners right now, but I think we only have 35 startups as members. So we will proactively also call the Dutch AI startups, because we have 400 of them, and we need a much larger population of startups to be involved to help stimulate artificial intelligence in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm. And again, to Alicia and Anita, was this collaboration fruitful for your DIHs? I mean, these startups, were they able maybe to provide some technology support to the SMEs that you are working with, or maybe they played any other type of role within your structure?
Okay, so in our case, for example, we really trust like our startups, what they have to offer. And in this concrete case, we were offered by our stakeholder in Mexico an open innovation challenge. And we thought that Tacticatic as a startup could solve some of the challenges, or at least try to contribute. So we sent this information to them. So more or less, we've been doing this like 6 months. We are quite new in this startup world, into the DIHs. And we are trying like to see which kind of challenges, which kind of solutions can fix better to each of our startups. So that would be more or less.
Mm-hmm. What about, you know, your case is a little bit specific, Anita. You know, you are also serving the startups, not just the SMEs, but maybe you want to highlight which is the role and the main added value that you find for them to be part of your network.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, they're crucial for TechDelta because the core is about connecting startups and scale-ups to large organizations. Maybe to name an example, we've helped a startup that has developed an exoskeleton to validate their product. So TNO helped with the validation, and by doing that, they could make their claim also to health insurers that their product is really valuable and it should be covered within the health insurance package. So also one of the other TechDelta partners got in touch with them, and they started collaborating, and he introduced this startup to the health insurance network of the entire Netherlands. So this is the way that the connections could be made, like from validation to also market introduction. And Camille was also in the panel, has helped us quite a lot with the startup perspective on how to create better collaborations on startups and corporates. We are right now doing an investigation about that. We've created a questionnaire for that, how to further improve the network, the ecosystem in the Netherlands to improve corporate startup collaboration. And we really need the perspective of the startups within this. And also we do that for risk capital. So what are their needs? Yeah.
Okay, and what about you, Claudio and Camille? I mean, where do you see the main added value that you gain from collaborating with the DIHs?
Okay, from my point of view, Maurits told us before, we can expand markets, okay, obviously. Not only in Europe, which is something really easy or partially easy, okay, but even worldwide. In our case, it was great to do it, okay. Another point, strong point of being part of a digital hub is that make our companies and our technologies, the technologies we are working on, reliable to customers and potential clients. Okay, it's a kind of support of understand that you are able to develop any project related to technology. Okay, for a potential client. Okay, and obviously we have high value events and meetings, and they generate a high value brainstorming because the needs of the companies are really interesting, and the solutions as well are. So, and they have a return of knowledge to all the members and all the stakeholders being part of the digital hub. Okay.
Okay. So reputation, access to ecosystem, those are words that we can highlight here. Good. Camille, according to your experience?
Yes, so I think especially in these times with COVID-19, digital innovation hubs are very useful because you don't have your exhibitions that you can showcase your technology anymore. So you have to figure out an online way, and one of those ways is a digital innovation hub. The main value, I would say, is that they curate the startups, they curate the corporates, so you get better matches. So you know also what to expect from one another. Next to that, you get visibility that you wouldn't get before because you're curated, you're brought together to an audience of highly curated startups and corporates or large organizations. I think that is a main value. And I think also in case a collaboration is successful, you also kind of leave your business card like, hey, this was a successful collaboration in this digital innovation hub for the others part of the digital innovation hub. So I think those would be my main valuable points from a digital innovation hub.
Good. Can you give us some concrete business cases that you were able to achieve thanks to this collaboration? I think that for the startups that are with us today, this part might be also very important, right? In order to decide if they want to invest time and efforts in connecting with the regional DIHs. Claudio, any specific case you want to highlight?
Yeah, Alicia mentioned before, we have a business case working with Mexico, okay? With in an open innovation program in Mexico that allow us to get to several companies in Mexico that in any other case we wouldn't be able to do it. Okay, and we focus in one company that this program make us to start our relationship with this company, and maybe in the future we can get some contract or something like that. So really interesting.
Camille, do you have any specific experience?
Yes. So from the past, for example, the presentation I gave on the solar plants, we got through a digital innovation hub. And basically we worked out this full case, and by this we helped the customer save like 80% of the inspection costs that a solar plant inspection costs if you do it on food. And by using drones, AI, they save up to 80% of that cost. So that is, yeah, of course, a very nice benefit of collaborating there. And for us, it's a new customer, let's say it like that, and partner.
Okay, thank you. I would like now to go back to the DIHs and go more to the operational part, but I think it's also important, especially for newcomers. Okay, how is your collaboration model with your startups? Are they full partners of your structure? Are they associated? Do they need to pay a fee? Can you elaborate a little bit, Alicia, and then Anita, on how you work together with the startups?
Well, I mentioned it on my presentation, so you can have a look later. I think they will be shared. We have a new model of collaboration. That means, for example, our startups, they don't have to pay anything to be into our program, as for example, our members do. So they get a new stage that they are not really members, but they have some benefits. To go into this program, like all the startups can try to access to it, but they have to be approved by our board of directors. Some of the criteria we follow, of course, is that they have to work on Industry 4.0 technologies, because that's our main goal. Then they have to be less than 5 years old. And then also we have, it's not a problem, like we have to try to see if there's some competencies that can be like with our members. Like they always try to say, yeah, okay, so we're working on the same thing, so maybe there will be some kind of problems. So we try to take those startups that can benefit the ecosystem, but there will be not competencies against some of the members. I don't know if you get what I want to say. So I would say that now we are trying to achieve this kind of model, and so far it's working good. So we hope this will be like that.
Mm-hmm. Anita, in your case, what is the collaboration model? I think you mentioned something, but elaborate.
Yeah, for Tech Delta, it's we always said it has to be for free if you're a startup, because you want startups to be able to put all their money in growth. But as Alicia also said, and Camille as well, curation is very important. The Tech Delta 1.0 didn't have that, and then it doesn't work, because you need to know that you have a good population of startups and scale-ups to work with. So they apply, and we admit them on the platform. And then on the platform, they can click on what type of cooperation they are interested in. Do they want knowledge sharing? Do they want investments? Do they want customers, suppliers, co-create, do a pilot? Those sort of collaborations are possible within the Tech Delta ecosystem. For the AI coalition, at first we had a model where also the startups had to pay a partner fee, but we negotiated that you don't want to have that kind of entrance barrier, because we really need the startups to participate and to help them grow. So right now, for the first 2 years, if they meet the startup criteria, they can be a partner for free in the AI coalition.
Okay. Looking at the type of services that a DIH should provide, one of them that is very important, and you were mentioning this, Camille and Claudio, is access to networking and access to ecosystem. But I would like to know more about those possibilities that normally DIHs are able to facilitate, that type of brokerage where they put together sometimes different players of a same value chain for them to co-create. You know, I would like to know more about this. Is this an opportunity that you went through? Were you able to connect with other players, even some of your competition? So can you give us some example of this co-creation possibility?
Yeah, Mayte, I checked once I met Camille that we were able and we will be able to collaborate in the future, okay? Because our technologies are not competitive, if not it's a are linking technologies. Okay, so in this hub, in Digital Innovation Hub, I find other companies similar to Tactica T to collaborate with, okay, and to improve our solution to our final customer, okay, and even I have my final or our final customer inside the Digital Hub. So it's a really high value collaboration, okay, and I have a meeting, a room, space in which I can find all these this kind of stakeholders, okay.
Are you so positive on this, Camille, also?
Yes, so both on the large company side, but also small company side, we collaborate. The nature of our company is that we need, for example, we are not solar panel experts, so we need to collaborate with a large organization that is expert, that has having these assets before. So that's one side. So that is to be able to co-create such a solution that we have right now. And on the other side, we also collaborate with, you could call them competitors or you could call them partners, but they do essentially similar things. And I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, I together with another company from the Netherlands, we published a manual on aerial and space data, so how people can easily use that. And we wrote that as a collaboration together for the Data Science Initiative, which is also a digital innovation hub. In that sense, that helps governments with the transition to AI. So I think you can compete, but on the other hand, you can also find your niche and see what you're good in and what they are good in, and try to collaborate on that point.
Okay. I'm happy to see that you confirm, okay, this as a potential activity adding value. We don't have so much time for this panel, but I would like to also know a little bit more on the other type of activities and services that a DIH should provide, which is the access to or the support to find investments. I don't know who of you, maybe Alicia or you, Anita, you want to elaborate a little bit how you support your companies and you support the startups on having access to investment, private and also public financial support.
Yes, I could say a little bit about that. In the Netherlands, there's a lot of funds, of course, and via the accelerators, the startups get access to these funds, for example. With Tech Delta, we also open up the corporate venture capital. So some of the corporate partners of Tech Delta also have investment funds, and we can do the matchmaking for them. And for the Dutch AI Coalition, actually, we've noticed, and I'm very glad to hear about Bogdan's presentation, that Europe also is stimulating investments in AI. But in the Netherlands, for early stage startups, it's okay. But if you need a higher Series B, for example, it's hard to attract large investments in the Netherlands. If you compare the landscape of Europe and the Netherlands on AI with, for example, United States or China, their access to data sets, it's much larger. Their access to capital is much bigger. So we have quite a challenge over there. And we're working with the AI Coalition on creating a fund-in-fund structure. We aim at 2 billion euros to be able to also make the connections for the scale-ups that need larger funding rounds, and they don't need to go abroad to find investors, and maybe also have their locations over there, but they can stay within Europe and attract these kinds of large investments.
Okay, thank you, Anita. I would like to finalize here with my questions. I think we were able to show together that this collaboration with the startups is useful for the DIHs. They became a key player within your infrastructure and your organization. But I also saw that for you, the startups, I think is some of the things were mentioned was to expand markets worldwide. Reputation is helping with having access to the ecosystem, curate, right? Startups and corporates. And also we were elaborating more about this co-creation possibility and the access to find more capital, more investments, private, or also I know that some others are also working on facilitate the connection with public funding. So I hope you found this overview useful. I would like now to give the floor to my colleague Lucy, so all of you, the audience, will have the opportunity to ask your questions directly to the panelists, or maybe to reflect on your experiences working with the startups and vice versa. So please, Lucy, can you share with us your questions?
Yes, we have received a few questions already. The first one would be for Anita and Alicia. It's about the sustainability of digital innovation hubs or support structure for SME and startups. So the question is, what would you say is the core component success factor of the economic sustainability of a DIH, if you have some research and quantitative info to share?
Sorry, Lucy, can we see the question also on the chat?
Yeah, I will assign it to you so you can see it.
Thank you. Okay.
So can I start? I think I understood the question. So how to get to a sustainable model for the Digital Innovation Hub?
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. For my hub, it was kind of a struggle in the beginning to find the right structure, the right model. Tech Delta already exists, I think, 3 years now, and we've pivoted ourselves like a startup to find the best model to get a win-win-win, as I showed on the screen. And I think once you found it, it is sustainable because we have we meet the needs of the startups to get easy access. We meet the needs of the corporates to get high quality startups and also at an efficient manner, because, well, you can't expect every corporate or large public organization to attend all startup events or be active in all kinds of accelerators. So our model is that they all have to be committed, also financially, the partners, but they pay a large amount of money, a very small amount of money, and with that we can support it in a non-commercial way. And we listen to our partners on what their needs are, and we also involve the partners in our advisory board. So I think in that way you get a sustainable model, that you listen to the market very well, and you keep on track with the needs of all the stakeholders. For the Dutch AI Coalition, we had kind of created our self-fulfilling prophecy. We made it very clear that the Dutch had to act on artificial intelligence and had to collaborate better, and also had to have one single point of contact for our country, also to talk to the European Commission, for example. So right now we're running on mostly on in-kind efforts, and we've also asked for budgets, and that's like a 7-year program. So I can't, I don't know what COVID will do with the investment plan we've asked for, but we have quite a large runway.
Okay, well, so in our case,
okay,
I cannot.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. In our case, I cannot say the same as Anita because we are quite new here, just to say it. But right now, well, we create that type of program, as I explained to you before, and I think it would be useful, like at the end of the year, maybe to get feedback from our startups, from our members, to see if this is working good or we should try to improve some things. We thought it must be a free program for startups because they cannot invest money at the beginning. But for example, if we need to take a benefit of the profit we can get to make it sustainable, is imagine that, for example, we present a project by hand of one of our startups. If this project is successful, we usually earn like 10% of the profit, but just if it's successful. If not, we don't get anything from this support. So we try to do that so we can have a win-win, but to make it sustainable from our startups. So right now, this is the way we try to proceed, and we'll see if it still works good in the end. I hope so.
Thanks, Alicia. I have another question for both Alicia and Anita, which I think you may have mentioned before, but maybe you can expand more on it. What kind of infrastructures and equipments do you supply for startups and SMEs?
Okay, well, as you want.
Alicia, go ahead.
Okay, so well, as I start, I will sum up them into 3 main levels, just to say it. The first one is this kind of networking that also Claudia was also explaining, is giving them visibility. Like, we trust on them, and for example, when someone asks us for startup solutions, we know we have our startups and we can say, yeah, they work good, they can work here. Also, like, invite them maybe to events or to other type of programs that this Open Innovation one. So that type of networking part. Then second is the generation of projects. For example, we have generate projects with other of our startups. When we know they can do something useful for that, we directly contact them and to see if they can provide their products. And also we have other side technologies, like we can give them training support to their team, or even ask them to give training if they want, because some of our startups, they have experience on giving training, so they could be another possibility. And also they want that kind of support in the way of elaborating calls, because they have not experience on that, and also they don't know which call to apply, which one suits better for them. So this is something we do also for them. And that would be mainly. Also, when we generate projects, we are coordinating those projects in order to really, from the beginning, set like the role of each agent imply and don't have problems later. But I think this is quite important in order not to have competitiveness at the end or anything, and just try to collaborate. That is the main goal of the Digital Innovation Hub.
Yeah, thank you, Alicia. Anita?
Yes, I think the slide that Maurits showed is very, very helpful with all the services that a hub can offer. If I, with that perspective, I think we do ecosystem building, of course, community building, and also learning amongst the startups, but also learning amongst the innovation managers to be better in collaborating with startups, because that is sometimes also a problem that the large organizations want to collaborate with startups, but are not that experienced and have, well, difficulties in finding the right manner, the speed, the commitment of higher levels, not only the innovation department, but also procurement. We focus on that. Tech validation, of course, is one of our services. yeah, it's actually quite broad. So learning, access to finance, access to tech, and well, promoting the startups.
Okay, thank you very much, Anita. We have more questions from the audience so far. So I don't know, Mayte, if you want to say a few more things, or if we move to the conclusion.
Well, maybe in the spirit of being positive and presenting this as an opportunity for the startups, we were tackling, yeah, the positive aspects. We didn't really elaborate on the challenges. So maybe I'm now giving a little bit the floor to Camille and Claudio, because I know that, you know, for the startups, timing is a problem. Okay, you really need to be fast and generate the revenues and business as soon as possible in order to stay alive. So I know these type of structures, you know, like the hubs, they can be slow in the way of acting. I'm already suggesting if this could be a challenge for you in working with them, or if you want to mention some others. Okay, so in order to be fair and objective, I think it's fair to talk also about this part.
I would say, Mayte, that sometimes I feel that many companies, in our case, industrial companies, okay, because we are focused on industry, are going to hubs to find ideas to develop by themselves. Sometimes I remark, okay, sometimes. So we do not want to be just generate ideas for these companies. We want to develop these ideas with the companies. We want to be part of their innovation departments or systems. Okay.
Okay, Camille, in your case.
So maybe,
yeah,
yeah, it's better if I'm very curious to hear about Camille, but I really agree with Claudio that it should be equal conversation partners. And you do see that startups or with hackathons, for example, are being used to generate ideas. And then you don't want the large organizations to say, well, thank you so much. And we'll now continue and maybe take the idea and do it ourselves. So to really get to make a good connection and really start co-creating together is something, well, at least we have to keep on improving. We're good, but we do see that there's a challenge for this.
Okay, Camille, anything to add?
Yeah, so to connect to what Anita and Claudio just said, I would say the biggest challenge is not the hub itself. I think if you have good curation, which I think most hubs learned until now, I think is good. What is going to be the challenge is well, not doing these first projects, but actually building long sustainable partnerships on the long term. Obviously, this is not the challenge of the hub, but it's a challenge in innovation between and collaboration between large and small organizations. And if you look at this right now, it's quite new. We've been doing this the past 10, 15 years. We started this. And we are still learning, like large organizations are learning, small companies are learning. And I think what is most important in there is to be clear at the beginning what you want from each other. Because if you don't manage these expectations, it will, you will start something that is not necessarily what you want to work towards. So I guess it's you have to align where you want to go. As a large company, do you want to just purchase a solution in the end and have all the IP? Okay, that's fine, but just tell that at the beginning. As a small company, do you want to work it that way or not? And of course, some experimentation is possible, but talk to each other about these things because these are the important topics as well, like data sharing and data, who owns the IP of the trained model. Yeah, so there are several challenges there, and we're going to learn a lot the upcoming years. And obviously, in the NL AI coalition, we are working on investigating how to improve those. So we are really looking forward to that.
Okay, thank you. I would like to invite now to maybe Maurits or Thorsten. They are key players in this DIH ecosystem with huge experience in working inside the DIH and with the startups as players of. Do you have any contribution to the panel conclusions and comments before we give the floor to Lucy to finalize? Yeah, Maurits, please.
Yeah, I just put in a post for the full community. I think what is important is to say is that when I visited US in 2013, that was my main inspiration, going to the Ohio Third Frontier program. And that Ohio Third Frontier program was more or less the blueprint for the concept of a digital innovation hub. And what they do, and I can bring that to the floor, and that's important to see, is that you organize your innovation ecosystem and bring together all the people in a friendly way, not as competitors, but in your innovation ecosystem, organize the collaboration. And what was an important, and it's a bit of an anecdote, but it shows all. I had an interview there with one or two persons, and I came to the office, which was the Tech Columbus office, and I started talking about and asking about how it's done. And they said, wait a minute. 10 minutes after that, I was brought into a room where most of the players in that region that were working together with the Tech Columbus as one of the partners or orchestrators of the innovation ecosystem there, they brought together all the venture capitalists and all the other key players there, and I could answer their questions. And they worked together to establish a very vibrant, dynamic, collaborative ecosystem, and that's important. So that's one very important thing to answer, that you connect all the dots in your digital innovation hub. But the second part, which was very impressive, was that they had the linkage to the government, and they established co-funding to set up a venture capitalist fund that they could run. And that's, I think, one of the major factors for success, to have a fund that you can access as a digital innovation hub to start up new companies, because that was a very much a startup oriented digital innovation hub. They offer technology, business, so the startup companies just walked around the building, and if they needed some advice, they could hop into an office where someone could help them to get venture capital. That was quite easy to manage. It was very impressive, and that's always been my idea how a digital innovation hub should be organized.
Very inspiring.
Yeah, very little to add from my side. We are also very closely working with market players. So apart from venture capital and funding for projects for startups and SME, I think it is also very good to have access to the market as such, because as I said before in my statement, customers are key for startups. And if you ever, as a digital innovation hub, can also facilitate networking in this direction, it is also a benefit.
Okay, thank you, Thorsten. Thank you all. I will give now the floor to Lucy, okay, for her to give us some indications on where we can follow this discussion from now on. Lucy?
Yes, thank you. Actually, there has been one last question from the audience for Anita and Alicia, which maybe you can answer quickly. Okay. Startups still struggle even after being beneficiary of different type of program support. Does your hub offer any post-program support? And what would be a good post-program support that a DIH could offer? Maybe Anita first?
Yeah, so the Dutch AI Coalition focuses actually more on scaling up existing companies from my perspective, from my working group. So we offer a lot of support, actually all the support I just mentioned. But I do see that if you, as a startup, you've been in an accelerator program, and then, well, you're quite obvious not there yet. And that is why we've actually started Tech Delta to offer support to those startups that still need to find the right entrance at a lot of different organizations. And so we don't drop them. It's actually our starting point if they just finalized an accelerator program, that we adopt them and we keep them in our database if they want to, and connect them to relevant parties until they're about 10 years old. So I hope that answers the question. Yeah.
In our case, we don't have like any specific program, and we are not really considering it yet, because we are like working with the quite new startups. As I said, like the main criteria is they must not be less than 5 years old, or older than 5 years old, sorry. But I think it's a good thing to consider, and we should take it into account for the future. Like how to kind of support that startups, not from the perspective of members, but not from the perspective of being new startups. That is something we should work on that.
Okay, thank you very much. We don't have more questions, so I will move to just our action. Let me share my screen. Okay. So for the startups in the audience, if you would like to cooperate with the DIH in your region and you don't know where to find them, there is the catalog from the Joint Research Center, which is actually like the DIH yellow pages. You have the link here, and it categorizes all the digital innovation hubs of Europe, and you can look for them per country, per region, per service provided, and per market sector. Also, for the DIH that are here, I'm sure you're already familiar with the DIHNET.EU Community. If you're not, you can see here how to join on the DIHNET.EU website, which is the website of the initiative. There's a button called Community. You can click on it, and then you will be brought to the page of the community in which you can create a profile. We have more than 600 members, all are either members of digital innovation hubs or members of the ecosystem. We have different spaces in which we post information of interest for hubs and in which hubs can cooperate and communicate. So all the materials of this webinar will be posted on the space news and events. So the recording as well as the PowerPoint. And there will be a space for questions if some of the questions have not been answered. Here you will be able to do it in the comments, and we will provide you with the support answers. And for startups, we also have the FundingBox community, in which there is more than 20,000 startups and SMEs who are members, who can also communicate, network, and have access to funding opportunities and other news of interest. Yes, so thank you very much, and I will let Mayte conclude.
Okay, I think we arrived here to the end of this webinar. I hope you have found it of interest. I would like to really thank you, our speakers, for sharing these experiences today. And on our side, we will keep working on providing you with content of interest regarding DIHs and how they can contribute to the innovation ecosystems and the transformation of digital transformation of SMEs all around Europe. And we will do this through the DIHNET project and through the DIHNET community. Thank you all. Please stay in touch. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.